Hey everybody, hope you're all doing well. My name is Steven and this is the Storytime channel. Just a quick reminder that I do giveaways every single week, so if you're interested, I'll tell you exactly how to enter later on in the video. That said, we have some malicious compliance stories, and our first story of the day is by Rook218. The dozen donuts I've been bringing in every Monday doesn't count as my snack day contribution? Well, I guess I'll have to rectify that. Back in high school, around 2010, I used to work the closing shift at Dunkin' Donuts on Sunday nights. Per company policy, I could box up 2 dozen donuts to bring home with me before throwing the rest out. 1 dozen went with my dad to work in the morning. 1 came with me to school, specifically my Spanish class, which was a pretty small and pretty tight-knit group. Tends to happen when a lot of coursework is practicing conversations with each other. This practice of bringing donuts every Monday sparked an idea in one of my classmates' heads. She's Anne in the story. Since it's so nice to have donuts once a week, we should do a weekly snack day where everyone can bring something in. They decided this would be on Thursday, and I said I'd just continue bringing in donuts every week on Monday as my contribution. Everyone was very okay with this, except for Anne. No. This snack day was Thursday, and if you aren't going to bring in a snack on Thursday, then you aren't welcome to participate. I was pretty pissed, but what can you do? It's only one snack one time. Then I got to thinking about it. I was only required to bring a snack, not something sweet or delicious or even palatable. As long as it was edible, it was counted. My next closing shift, I grabbed an extra empty dozen box. I went to the store on Wednesday night and got a 5-pound bag of potatoes. I washed them and put them right in the box and dropped off the box early in the morning to my Spanish classroom, so nobody would get wise to the actual contents. Apparently, the earlier classes had seen the box sitting on a shelf and had told our class that we had donuts. Everyone was excited. I brought them up and put them on top of the Elmo projector, trying my best not to betray the extra heft. They all scurried up excitedly, and Anne herself was the one to open the box. A blank expression turned to raw frustration. "You were supposed to bring a snack today," she protested. "I did," I said, walking up to the box and grabbing a potato, biting into it while making direct eye contact with her. "You don't have to have any if you don't want." Everyone shuffled back to their desks, and Anne tried desperately to grasp a new argument out of thin air, but it was not coming. I finished my potato triumphantly and brought the rest home for my mom after school. The box was checked, and she could not try to exclude me from the weekly snack day anymore. Everyone else in class who thought she was a bit over the top thought the antic was hilarious after they got over the initial disappointment. It's a thing called compromise. If this was you, would you be completely fine with OP skipping bringing an actual snack in, granted every Monday they bring in donuts? Let me know in the comments down below if that would be okay, or if they had to bring something on Thursday snack day specifically. Our next story is by Grillbuster5. It is my day to buy donuts for the entire office as the new person? Well, okay. As the new person at my job, I was told multiple times that I was expected to provide donuts for the entire office. Normally, that's not a big deal, but 2 people in particular were rude and relentless about the donuts all week. Others joined in also. Apparently, these people recently extorted 2 boxes of Krispy Kremes from someone else. Examples of the behavior: mentioned buying donuts 20+ times, name-calling, interrupted meetings, powered off my computer, losing my work, refusing to answer legit work questions until I buy donuts, on and on. Here's the problem. I was hired in as a senior 30 years old, and I was not necessarily loving the idea of being told to buy donuts over and over. Hazing really did not seem appropriate at this point of my career, or for anyone else. I didn't want to be a bad sport my first week, so I played along. I politely said that I will not have the time this week, but will get to it eventually. In terms of the workforce, I was mature, but I was not very mature as a person overall. I needed a creative way to address this problem. On my way to work, I decided to pick up a cheap bag of small powdered Hostess Donuts donuts at the gas station. I distributed the donuts one by one, desk by desk, making sure to do so barehanded from the bag. I presented the donuts extremely politely, careful to mask my passive-aggressive F you to the whole forced donut process. The reaction from the staff was a lot of deer in headlights looks. People had no idea if I was a really nice but clueless person, or if I was totally saying F you to the entire donut idea. Most people took the safe choice of being pleasant in return. Some people tried to refuse, but I mentioned the big deal about buying donuts and still left a donut on every desk. I had originally considered providing a donut to everyone except the last two idiotic pushy people. I started verbally setting it up where they would not receive a donut. However, these two idiots were still openly verbally complaining about donuts as adults. I could tell that this was not going to go away. They could not take a hint to back off. My idea to passively aggressively snub them was no longer good enough. This had to be more direct. I decided I was 100% done with these guys, regardless of the consequences. I told them I had another idea. I grabbed a plastic knife from the break room and cut the remaining donut in half the long horizontal way, so I still had two circles. The yellow cake was now visible. Then the most brilliant idea of my life. A new way to hold donuts. One donut on each middle finger, with my middle finger in the center hole of each donut. I stopped at both desks. The first guy had his choice of two half donuts on my middle fingers. That's right, I was able to give him a double donut middle finger. He now understood that I was completely done with his BS, but he never grabbed the donut. I explained the donuts are actually quite tasty and urged him to take one, but I'm sure I looked like a complete psycho. I was no longer able to stay in character. The good news, his refusal to take a donut from my middle fingers also allowed the opportunity to provide the last guy a double donut middle finger. I mildly snapped and had a crappy fake grin on my face. I looked him right in the eye. Double donut middle fingers up, no longer saying a word. The reaction of the last person is best described as completely frightened. That's right, I reached a complete breaking point over donuts and scared the heck out of someone. Anyway, after this incident, I was never asked to buy donuts again. I understand if it's a young, first job rookie type thing, but if a dude is coming in and they're 30 years old, you kind of have to jump over that whole hazing thing, regardless of how much you want the donuts. If you want donuts that bad, just do an Uber Eats or Postmates or whatever to the office and just deal with that. Stop trying to mooch off of and haze a 30-year-old dude in the workplace. This next story is by slickjamtaw. You want your food as early as possible? Got ya, fam. Hey, this just happened now. I have started recently working part-time for a company which does this weekly food delivery. You order whatever you want for each day, and you will get the food until 1 p.m. Most of the customers are elderly people with an occasional young professional. They are pretty nice. However, there was this one older gentleman who couldn't comprehend why I arrived some days around 10 a.m. and some days around 12. Contract says you get the food until 1 p.m. I tried to explain that some days we have extra addresses. The days where I have to collect money, I have to stay several more minutes at each address, and with 50 to 60 addresses, it quickly adds up. He heard none of it and told me to bring his food as early as possible. Now, little did he know that we start our deliveries around 5:15 to 5:30 a.m. Cue malicious compliance. Of course, sir, I will try to come as early as possible. So today I showed up around 5:40 a.m. Swapped his address to be the first as it's not very far away from the kitchen, but slightly out of the way, and it was optimized for the return route. Needless to say, he was gobsmacked and asked me what the heck I was doing ringing this time. I told him that he said as early as possible, and I apologized I couldn't come earlier, but the kitchen just gave us the food, so I came as early as possible. Needless to say, he said it's fine if I just come the normal time. Coming into that place shockingly early and starting it off with apologizing that you weren't able to come even earlier, that is a great way to handle this dude, because he obviously already wouldn't want you delivering at that time. The thought that if this continued it would get even earlier probably scared them enough to say, no, please come the normal time, even if it's a little later than usual. This next story is by raynsuch. Everyone has to get a table, but racists aren't promised a good spot. This isn't something that happened to me, but a story an old coworker told me that has stuck with me for years. The details might be a little off because it has been so long, but the important parts are stuck in my head forever. My coworker used to work for a local battlefield that often had celebrations. Because this is a national park, the event staff, or whatever they are called, were considered federal employees, and therefore could not discriminate against what organizations were allowed to set up tables at events. For context, this takes place in a very rural, see racist, area, and on a Civil War battlefield. The 4th of July rolled around one year and my old coworker was in charge of setting up tables and assigning them to the different organizations that had reserved spots. The 4th of July is the largest celebration at the battlefield every year, with loads of people coming from out of state for the famous fireworks and orchestra. Well, my coworker starts setting things up with their team and realizes the Triple K reserved a table. Again, they couldn't deny them a table because they are federal employees. My coworker then decides to get his team to rearrange all of the porta potties so that they form a long aisle, with one end facing away from the festivities and backing up against a fence. He then places a table at the very end of the aisle. Keep in mind it's early July and sweltering, and hundreds of people are going to be using these toilets all day. There's literally no other public place for a few miles minimum they could go to use the toilet. And everyone's eating hot dogs and stuff. Representatives from the organization start coming, and they all come up to one table to check in. Everyone else just gets a number and can find their table that way since all but one table are in the same area. When the gross Triple K guys get there, my coworker comes over and shows them to their spot personally. They start cursing and asking my coworker what's going on, but he just showed them to their table and left. The monsters stayed for a few hours, but once it got hot and people go to using the restroom, they packed up and left. My coworker said he kept walking past the aisle of porta potties all day, grinning at them. Well, considering you literally can't turn down these people despite how awful they are, they did the next best thing. I would say put it where the view sucks, far away, hopefully completely in the sun. Next to porta potties is a great touch too. Overall, just good execution on making it so unbearable that even the Triple K has to leave. Our next story is by This Lady Loves Wine. I guess I won't count the cash. It's your store. So I used to work at a small retail store where the people working were just myself as a full-time employee, another employee at part-time, and the owner at full-time. I had worked in retail before, but the owner did not have other retail experience. She came from the corporate world and opened her dream store without any retail experience. I opened the store 5 days a week and closed 3 to 5 days a week. The owner opened the other 2 days a week and otherwise came and went as she needed to, while the part-time employee filled in the gaps. The owner trained me on a lot of things that were not standard retail practice, including only balancing the till at closing and then not counting the till again the next morning. Now, the part-time employee was super sweet and I really liked working with her, but she had a terrible memory and was awful at counting. She would regularly, accidentally leave the till off by a couple of dollars and cents. It was always an innocent mistake, and the cash deposit would always balance however the till was off. And sometimes I would count wrong, and sometimes even the owner would count wrong. So I started counting the till in the mornings at opening just to ensure we were double checking that no theft was occurring after the nightly cash out and that the till balances at the beginning of the day. Makes sense, right? Well, not according to the owner. One day she came in early on one of my days to open. She was surprised when I told her I'd been doing it for months. Not only did she think it was a waste of time to count the float in the till in the morning, she somehow misconstrued it to me insulting her or the other employee. Apparently, I was accusing them of something by counting the till. I told her I count the till every morning I open, even when I was the one to cash out the night before. Sometimes I would catch my own mistakes, but she wouldn't have it. I said it was normal retail procedure to count the till when you open. She said that didn't matter. I reminded her about all the times I had caught discrepancies that actually explained the nightly cash deposit being incorrectly counted. I told her that counting the till in the morning is how I caught all the previous mistakes. Still, she didn't care. I explained that if I was responsible for the till being over or under at the end of the day, shouldn't I have the opportunity to ensure I was starting the day with an accurate float? still didn't care. She demanded I stop doing it. So I did. The first few days, nothing big happened, but after a couple of weeks, all the cash drops were wildly off. The till was regularly under or over at the end of the day, and the owner couldn't track where the errors were coming from. I had a few days off, so she knew it wasn't coming from me. She knew why it was happening. So quietly, and without eye contact, she asked for the other employee and I to count the till when we opened the store from then on. It's quite tricky when you end up in a situation where you kind of know more than the owner of the entire establishment does. But considering you had retail experience and the owner did not have any, maybe they should have listened a little bit more to your explanation of why this procedure is done this way. And obviously, in the end, they figured out why the kind of hard way. So quickly now, I want to explain just how to enter the giveaway. All you need to do is leave a comment on this video relevant to something you saw or heard or liked in any story in that video. That's it, you're entered. But it applies to every single video we upload this week. So to get the best odds at winning the $30 Amazon gift card giveaway, you'll want to leave a comment relating to any of those videos all week long. On Sunday, after the last video has gone out, I'll pick one comment at random and let you know on the following Monday who has won, and then it starts all over again. So make sure you leave a relevant comment on this video and additionally every video I upload this week for the absolute best chance to win. And while you're at it, why don't you go ahead and give the videos a like too, because it helps more than you could imagine. And our final story of the day is by Edymnion. Haunted house worker here. Tell the monsters not to scare my son like that. Okay. So I'm working in, ran, built, etc. haunted houses for decades, and I've posted some of my favorite stories before, but since the spooky time is nearly upon us again, there's a story that is actually malicious compliance related that I can share. Normally I work inside in my own room, but sometimes I enjoy being a line worker. One of the people entertaining guests as they wait in line to enter the haunt for the fresh air. This story occurs during one such time. So I'm working the line and I notice the kid every haunt worker hates. The one who's all, "I ain't scared, it's all fake, this is stupid." Welp, despite being over 6 feet tall, years and years of haunt work mean I can move very quietly and unnoticed when I want to. So I waited until the kid's back was turned before sneaking up on him and scaring the crap out of him in front of his friends. Turns out the lady nearby was his mom who got pissed. Like, lady, it's a haunt. Don't bring your rancid crotch fruit to one if you don't want to be scared. But she insisted I not only never do that to her son again, but that I needed to go into the haunt and tell everyone not to scare him as well. Knowing full well that everyone in the haunt was as twisted as I was, I made sure to give her the "yes ma'am" and what is the young man's name so I can tell them precisely who to watch for. We'll call him Kevin, son of Karen. So I go prancing into the haunt, no seriously I pranced, between groups and inform each and every room of workers that Kevin, son of Karen, is about to come through. He's in a red shirt with such and such on it. He's very scared and his mommy said I just had to tell you not to single him out and scare him. Pro tip, the last thing you want to do with a haunt is let the monsters know what your name is or single yourself out in any way. You think a haunt is bad when you're just face number 5623 going through? Try it when people know your name and the monsters are screaming it into the night. "Kevin, Kevin, I'm going to get you, Kevin." And they stop to intentionally time every last scare to go off just for you. What? She only said I had to tell everyone not to scare her kid. Nobody was under any compulsion to do what I told them. If you're going to a haunted house or any kind of haunt type thing, I don't think you want to paint a target on yourself like that. Granted, the kid's mom did it, but that's probably even worse. Kevin. I'm sure Kevin enjoyed. But with that being said, that's all the time we have for today. So if you have a favorite story of the day, let me know which one and why in the comments down below. If you enjoyed the video, please consider giving it a like and subscribe if you haven't, and turn on notifications so you'll never miss an upcoming video from the Storytime channel. Every little thing that you do helps the channel grow that much more, so no matter what you did, thank you for supporting me right here on the Storytime channel. I hope you all have a wonderful day, and I'll see you all next time right here.